Hello and welcome everyone. You're watching a very special show on indoor air pollution on Republic TV, Breathe Sharp, a Sharp initiative. I'm Shivani Gupta and I'm very delighted to introduce to you an esteemed panel that we have to discuss this issue of indoor air pollution, how it affects our lives and what we can do to ensure that we can minimize the damage caused to our health. Joining me in the studio is Dr. Randeep Guleria. He's the HOD of Pulmonology and Sleep Disorders at AIMS, and he's a Padma Shri. Sir, thanks a lot for joining us and making time for this initiative on Republic TV. I'm also joined by Debajit Palit. He's a Senior Fellow at TERI. With me is also Sitesh Roy. He's a US Board Certified Allergist, Immunologist and Asthma Specialist. And to my right is Priyanka Kulshestra. She is the co-founder of Society for Indoor Environment. We will kickstart this discussion on indoor air pollution with our esteemed panel in just a bit, but we prepared a short snippet for you to set up this discussion on just the issue that we're dealing with today. Take a look at that.
India is one of the most rapidly growing economies of the world. There is a holistic development all around. The country's GDP is up by 2,216% since 1991. Roads getting better and longer, now connecting 2,43,800 kilometers. Buildings are growing taller and construction is booming. India is set to consume an estimated 398 million metric tons of cement this year. The entertainment market is booming certainly. Economically speaking, the Indian economy is growing by leaps and bounds. But is this development coming for a price? Snarling traffic, grey skies, respiratory diseases on the rise. Can this really be defined as development? Consider this, respiratory ailments kill more people in developing countries like India than any other disease. In fact, air pollution directly or indirectly is responsible for more deaths than all other diseases combined, as the effects are beyond just targeting the respiratory organs. Air pollution of 2.5 microns get carried beyond the lungs to enter the body via blood capillaries. Long-term impacts have not yet been established, though end results such as cancer, tumors cannot be ruled out. While economic and industrial development are often applauded, the long-term negative effects of this development is often underplayed. Urbanization cannot and should not be stopped, but we certainly can take steps to curtail the ills of air pollution.
So we all agree that pollution is a massive problem for our citizens' health. And as we bring this show to you, Delhi is of course undergoing a severe crisis. But we do know that pollution levels, particulate levels are actually quite high all across the country. Dr. Guleria, I wanted to come to you first. We've been focusing a lot on pollution outdoors. When we travel outdoors, wear masks or do other things, try and avoid going outdoors at all. But one aspect of pollution that we perhaps don't focus on enough on is indoor pollution, because all of that particulate matter and all of that dust comes inside as well. Just give us a sense of how severe the issue of indoor pollution is.
Indoor air pollution rates higher than outdoor air pollution. And that's basically related to two facts. Like you said, the distinction between the outdoor and indoor air pollution has become a little blurred. A lot of air pollutants which are present in the environment outside will go inside the house. But the important thing to remember is that there is a lot of indoor pollution which is already present over and above what comes from outside. And in India, unfortunately, more than 60% of houses still use biomass as a means of cooking. And this is in smaller towns and rural India. That if you look at the means of cooking, it's either using wood or cow dung, and these are done in kitchens which are not properly ventilated, and this leads to a lot of indoor air pollution, which exposes young women, if they have small children, infants who are lying in the same room while they're cooking, they get exposed to this indoor air pollution, which reaches very high levels because there is really no ventilation and the house is totally closed. And therefore, the burden of indoor air pollution is sometimes forgotten, but it's significant, and like I said, it's rated higher than outdoor air pollution as far as the global burden of disease data for India is concerned.
That's quite alarming, isn't it, Devajit? Because normally, when people think of pollution, they only think of outdoor pollution. They think of vehicular pollution, industrial pollution, which obviously we all have to be careful of when we go outside for work and so on and so forth. And there are advisories issued for that. But it is important, as Dr. Guleria was mentioning, that we take care of our health inside our homes and other places of work as well. And this is not just for Delhi, isn't it? This is a pan-India issue because pollution levels are high and certain these factors that Dr. Guleria mentioned are present all across the country.
Absolutely, Shivani. And first of all, thank you for inviting me to join this panel. I fully agree with Dr. Guleria when he said that the indoor air pollution, which we now call actually household air pollution, because it also involves pollution from space heating and also fodder cooking, is much more contributing factor to the overall pollution. In fact, the WHO study says that 30% of the total pollution is contributing from the household air pollution. And if I put some data which definitely would give some thoughts to this panel, is that in Delhi, for example, we have the last year PM 2.5, which is considered to be more toxic in nature than PM 2.10, PM 10. The average ranges between 250 to 350 microgram per meter cube. And if we see the cooking being done in the households in the rural areas, the average actually starts from 500 and goes as high as 1200. Depending
but what
on
would be the average be in an urban household,
so
for example, in Delhi?
So in an urban households, if the outdoor air pollution is about say 200 or something, the indoor it should be around maybe 100 less than that. So it's very important for us to recognize that while of course we can see the outdoor air pollution, the visibility is low and all those things are happening, but actually, and we are not seeing these things happening inside. But the inside phenomena is 365 days in a year, whereas the outdoor might be only for the severe pollution, might be only for say 10 days or 15 days during Diwali or maybe during the stubble burning or something like that. So the prolonged exposure to indoor air pollution is much higher than what we actually is exposed to from the outside.
It's quite curious to note that while especially urban folk, are very concerned about their lifestyle, they would have very, important gadgets in their house to make their life better, the quality of their life better. And we spend so much on our lifestyle, especially when it comes to our health. Shouldn't we be careful about what the air that we breathe as well, especially inside our houses? Elaborate on the harm that it causes as well and why people should focus on this as a lifestyle issue.
So Shivani, you bring up a very important point because indoor air pollution is estimated to be 5 times higher than outdoor air pollution. And a normal human being spends up to 80 to 90% of their daily time inside indoors, whether it's in the office, whether it's at work, whether it's in their house, whether it's in the kitchen. So really it's a big exposure that causes a significant amount of time that is spent. And we breathe about 10,000 liters of air through our lungs every single day. So that's an ongoing exposure for 365 days of the year, 24/7. And the impact is huge because the volume of allergens or pollutants or irritants that we are exposed to are really remarkable when you add up a lifetime of exposure. And this problem begins right from the early infancy. So infants are affected. It has been shown that with indoor air pollution getting higher, even the child's lung growth gets affected for a lifetime. And so children having wheezing disorders, which can go on to becoming asthma, having upper and lower respiratory tract infections, these are some of the first manifestations of this indoor air pollution that we see. And one of the exposures that are very remarkable are the biological pollutants that are there inside the house, which would include things like house dust mites, pet dander, molds, fungus that can grow on the walls. And these things can really have a huge impact from a very early stage in life. So we see children getting sensitized as an allergist, immunologist right from a few months of age And this can lead to then wheezing disorders, asthma, allergic rhinitis, going on to skin diseases, even impacting adults in the house who can get new onset allergies, recurrent sinusitis, colds, headaches.
And then, of course, there's the senior citizens as well, who might not be going out that much.
It has been shown that the two age groups that are most affected by indoor air pollution are the very young, or kids below the age of 10 or 12, and those who are above 50s or 60s.
So how do we solve this situation? So what I'm learning today is really alarming, isn't it? One, that indoor pollution is actually more harmful for your health than outdoor pollution. And how does an average person look at, or what does he look at?
So when we look at indoor air pollution and the factors that affect it, prevention can be divided into three parts. The first part is source control. The second part is ventilation. And the third part is actually utilizing certain air purification systems that can make a difference in the overall health of the individual. And all of these need to be customized. Nothing is a standard gold rule that can be applied, because rural India is different, semi-urban India is different, urban India is different. The exposures are different, the lifestyles are different. Source control would involve utilizing the right kind of materials, right from the building of the house to the kind of ventilation that the house will have, to the exposures that will be there, to how the kitchen is built and how it has its ventilation system. Everything goes into source control. There are safe paints compared to other paints. Similarly, there are safe varnishes, safe air fresheners, or whatever else might be used. So a person has to take some effort to look into that.
Exactly. The effort is important, and shouldn't citizens be more aware of the fact that indoor air pollution needs to be curbed using devices that are at our disposal?
Since the air conditioning has come up and people are more into air-conditioned spaces, they prefer to stay indoors. That hampers the ventilation in that particular environment. And they are inhaling that same air which is being processed, and it is not even filtered. Right? So it is very important to realize that ventilation is a very important aspect which has been followed since ages and which needs to be taken care of. Like one of the studies that I quote here on indoor air pollution, it was found out that the levels were much higher from 6 to 9 in the morning, and were much better from 3 to 6 in the afternoon, which goes on to show that this is the time when your doors and windows should be much open. So these are small behavioral changes which, if can be bought, will help.
Let us slip into a very short break on this note and be right back with more on that.
We may all be very concerned about air pollution, but not many of us know indoor pollution can actually be much worse.
Your family is your world, so when it comes to their health, can you afford to compromise? It's time to wake up and respond. It's time to act sharp.
Zodiac, finest quality clothing.
ये ले, कल रात की पार्टी का मेरा हिस्सा। अरे नहीं रख ले, ज़्यादा फॉर्मेलिटी की जरूरत नहीं है।
ओए आंटी, what I'm saying is you need to pay 50 more.
वैसे उसने एक्स्ट्रा ऑलिव्स भी ऑर्डर किए थे
और बॉयफ्रेंड ने पापड़ भी मंगवाए थे.
राइट, और जीएसटी,
तो सब मिला के 90 more.
Get the best of DTH channels and internet content on your TV. Presenting Airtel Internet TV.
ट्रेनी जो है वो हवा में ही रहता है, उसके दोनों पैर कभी जमीन पे नहीं टिकते,
एक साथ नहीं टिकते ना।
एक स्टाइल हम घर से सीख के आए थे, दूसरा स्टाइल इधर चलना सीख रहे हैं।
ऊंचा कदम चाल, मोस्टली फॉर 40 मिनट्स और so. ऊंचा कदम चाल।
हमारे सर सीनियर भी कहते हैं ट्रेनी रोज जीता है और रोज मरता है।
उनके पैर पकड़ के हम उनको पैर को निकालना है, टांग को कैसे सीधा करना है, हाथ को कैसे सीधा करना है, वो हम पकड़ के सिखाते हैं। तो ये एक माँ बाप वाला रोल हो जाता है दिल का।
Presented by Nestaway for brokerage-free rental homes.
बाहुबली इतनी अच्छी मूवी बनी कितने 2000 करोड़ रुपए कमाए उसने किसने विरोध किया नहीं उसको सत्रियों के ऊपर पिक्चर थी
आप क्रिटिक हैं आप हैं कौन आपकी अथॉरिटी क्या है फिल्म को रोकने की
We are very, very clear. Law and order will be maintained. But when Sanjay Leela Bhansali was attacked the first time, when we said register an FIR, it would make a strong case. The filmmaker did not register an FIR. Despite that, the Rajasthan police arrested 4 people.
Bhansali has in January, he has given them writing that before releasing the film. One moment. Why he has given them writing? My question. I don't care. No. I don't care what my question. I don't care what you are, Bhansali. I want to see the film. No. I'm asking you. Why he has given writing?
Presented by Yes Bank, India Bole Yes. Powered by Ola, India's largest cab booking app. Justile, India's #1 local search engine.
Welcome back. You're watching a very special show on indoor air pollution on Republic TV. Breathe Sharp, a sharp initiative. And we are discussing the lifestyle changes and additions that we should be making to ensure that we can protect ourselves from indoor air pollution. We'll continue our discussion, but we also have a very special message from Mahesh Sharma, MOS Environment. Let's quickly listen in.
Supreme Court has made a committee under chairmanship of Bhure Lalji and Sunita Narayanji, and experts from other fields of the environment, they have given some suggestions which needs to be implemented for short-term measures. And definitely we are working seriously on long-term measures of what we call as parali biomass burning in Punjab state. We request to the common man, see our Prime Minister's vision that until unless there is a participation of the common man for anything, be it the cleanliness, be it the environment protection, we can achieve success only through this. Some people have taken surveys of the in-the-room pollution also. And I was reading that yes, there is a lot of pollution in the rooms also. Use of air conditions, closed windows, glass windows, they are the reasons, and for that purpose definitely we have to have fresh air in our rooms. Cleanliness, dust to be avoided, all pollutants needs to be removed from in your bedrooms and all those things. They are the measures which we keep.
You feel that there is a need to bring about more awareness to focus on indoor air pollution as well as a lifestyle issue and change?
So a lot of these things that we're seeing nowadays are related to lifestyle related diseases. And that's because India has had this dramatic shift over the last 15 years from communicable to non-communicable diseases. And a lot of non-communicable diseases, whether it be heart related, strokes, COPD or cancers, are related to our lifestyle. And one of the factors in the lifestyle is air pollution, which is both indoor and outdoor. And as has been said, the important issue is that it does affect the extremes of age, the young children and the elderly, and they need to be specially careful. One of the most important things is to understand the source and be able to prevent it.
In urban areas though, isn't the problem the opposite? That if there is too much ventilation, actually the pollution from outside comes inside.
So as was being mentioned, in urban areas, indoor air pollutant levels, except for the ones which occur due to VOCs, that is chemical related, may not be that high as we are finding in rural India. Indoor air pollution continues to be a major problem in smaller towns and in rural India. We don't have a solution right now. We need to find a solution for outdoor air pollution. Air purifiers do help. There are different types of air purifiers. Some have a HEPA filter, others use various other mechanisms using where there is actually ozone generation also. Some air purifiers actually generate indoor ozone and can be harmful, and various states in the US actually have banned them. If you're using an air purifier in a very large room and the windows are open or the door is constantly getting open and closed, even in an environment like Delhi, the efficacy of the purifier will definitely become less.
In fact, you mentioned the certification. I wanted to come to Dr. Sitesh on that.
So, Shivani, what happens is that the air purifiers, as has been mentioned by Dr. Guleria, have many different technologies that are involved, which can be very confusing to the common man to understand. What has to be understood, there is particulate matter that can be taken care of, there's gaseous matter, gases that can be taken care of, there are biological pollutants that can be taken care of. Similarly, there are different filters that the air purifiers have, which becomes very confusing, and different companies would come forth and say that we have this technology or that technology, or we have this sensor or that sensor. So truly the market is very confusing, and at this point of time in India, we really don't have any regulation or any governing body that has given the populace any idea of which air purifier matches what requirement. And that is something that has to be worked on, and to the best of my knowledge, the organization NEERI, the National Environmental Engineering Research Organization of India, which is a government undertaking, is looking at creating some guidelines or some references by which a person can look at whether the air purifier has a true HEPA filter, which is far superior to a regular plain filter, whether it has carbon filtration, whether it has gaseous filtration, whether it has the ability to alter ionic exchange that is occurring, which can also alter the pollutants in the home. And so as this data starts coming out, we have to, as of now, rely on whatever the manufacturers tell us, which is very confusing because the truth may not always be very evident, but the reality still remains that using an air purifier can give a human body a respite for maybe 6, 8 or 10 hours in the day from something that they might be exposed to otherwise constantly. And I think that respite can be, if I were to give an analogy, it would be like someone living in a dungeon in total darkness all day. Even if he's given 5 hours of sunlight, it's a blessing.
Wow.
And so if someone were to have that kind of clean air to breathe in their bedroom, even while they sleep, I think it can go a long way in influencing their health.
I do wanted to understand a little bit more for the benefit of our viewers the study that Terry conducted, which was specifically on air purifiers. What is the finding?
If you are using these air purifiers, then there is reduction in pollution level inside the house. And definitely that is one of the findings from the study. And what Dr. Guleria was mentioning, that we need to go into more long-term studies of similar nature to exactly correlate how and why something is happening.
In terms of policy, in terms of knowing what are the levels that are safe for us, what are the levels that we should adhere to or raise alarm at, we need to do more, isn't it?
Yeah, we need to actually look forward to indoor air pollution as one of the most important aspects. Something about 4 million people die each year because of indoor air pollution. And if I consider a recent study by Lancet, it says that around 0.97 million people in India die each year due to indoor air pollution, which is very close to ambient air pollution. So the need of the hour is that we need to have a mandate for indoor air pollution. Because as we are talking about the purifiers, yes, the purifiers are important for the vulnerable section of the society, the kids who are growing up, or the pregnant ladies, the people with cardiovascular disorders. But we need to know that what exactly is the concentration which should be there, which is not harmful to the occupants living in that indoor microenvironment.
Right. Is indoor air pollution also lending to that concentration of pollutants in your lungs if someone is living in Delhi versus someone who, let's say, is not using poor fuel in cleaner areas?
So if you're living in an environment which both outdoor and indoor is clean, your lungs will be pink. If you're living in an environment which has pollutants, whether it be outdoor or indoor, over a long period of time, there is deposition of carbon particles and other substances in the lung. It's not only in the lung that you see on surgery, but we do procedures like bronchoscopy where we see the lungs from the inside. And there also, when we look at the bifurcation of the airways, we find a lot of carbon particles and black anthracotic pigment deposited, which tells you immediately that this person has either had exposure to indoor air pollution or is coming from an environment where there is also outdoor air pollution.
And
so there is
percentage of outdoor and indoor would be, you know, in our lifestyle virtually the same? Because we spend as much time indoors as we do outdoors, isn't it?
That's true. We spend more time indoors.
More indoors, yeah.
We spend much more time indoor as compared to outdoor, and that's why the indoor environment is very important. And this issue of indoor air pollution therefore becomes a major problem. The important point to remember is that as we look at rural India and urban India, the issues of indoor air pollution become slightly different. As we look at the lower socioeconomic status and the higher socioeconomic status, they become different. So we can't club it into one, because if you're using good quality fuel, then your indoor environment is much better than if you're using fuel because of various reasons, which is basically of poor efficiency, poor efficiency, and therefore leads to a lot of indoor air pollution.
As has been established by a very esteemed panel, air pollution inside your homes can be worse for you. It can actually impact you more because you spend more time there, and more vulnerable groups spend more time indoors. So all of these are things that one should keep in mind. We also spoke to noted Indian cricketer Gautam Gambhir. This is what he had to tell us.
Well, it's a funny thing that we used to have winter vacations, we used to have summer vacations. Now the time has come, now we started having pollution vacations as well, which is very, very unfortunate. I think the only message which I want to give to the youth is that we got to, I think, leave some legacy behind for our future generation as well. And we need to encourage people to plant trees. And the most important measure is that we all know the problem, but the only solution is that people who buy cars it should be mandatory for everyone who buy a car to plant at least 5 minimum trees. That is a tax which you give for your future generation as well. You end up giving cess for the Swachh Bharat. Why not people who can afford cars should plant at least 5 minimum trees in the city as well to control pollution and to keep your city green as well. So this is something which is very, very important, which I think the government should make it mandatory for everyone.
So I hope we've been able to bring into focus of issues relating to indoor air pollution for our viewers. Some of the myths have been debunked and some of the more key issues have been brought to the fore. I do thank our entire panel for joining us. It is really, really nice to have you all here together and give us your expert views. Remember, you spend a lot on the water you drink, the food you eat, the clothes you wear, where you go to have your entertainment. Invest a little bit in your indoor air as well. That's the message we leave you with. Thanks a lot for watching.
Trivago does the work for you and instantly